this is John Cullen with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we're going to talk about a very important subject, and that subject is something that all these juicers and blender all have in common. And this is a question that I've been getting, more and more lately because people are concerned. And the subject is plastics. So plastics in your kitchen appliances, the blenders and the juicers, and John, what do you think about the plastics in the juicers? And people have this, plastic paranoia with the BPA, which is bisphenol A, which is found in certain kinds of plastics such as Lexan and polycarbonates. But because of that, people think all plastics are bad. Well, this video is here to share with you my thoughts and my ideas and my opinions on plastics in general and also in juicers and kitchen equipment. So first, let's talk about plastics. What is plastic? Well, plastic is basically material that is derived from petroleum. So from the oil that they extract out of the ground, they take that and refine that down, and they end up with a plastic. So most plastics that are used nowadays, are from petroleum-based products. There is also a new kind of plastic coming out on the market, and to my knowledge, nobody in the kitchen appliance arena is yet using this plastic, and there may be reasons for that. It's basically plant-based plastic. So, one of the popular plastics now is a corn-based plastic that's literally made from corn, and they make a plastic out of the corn. So that would be really cool, and probably put a lot of these fears that maybe we're going to talk about in a second aside, because it is, based on a food versus based on petroleum or oil. The largest concern that I hear with people about plastics is what's called BPA. Does that juicer, does that blender contain BPA? Well, the first is, what is BPA? Well, BPA is short for bisphenol A, and they had found in different studies that it may cause cancer in rats and this and that. And bisphenol A is, as I mentioned earlier, found in Lexan and other polycarbonates. So that's like basically shatter-resistant plastics. It's basically used in the curing process, and when it's used in the curing process, it's also in the plastic. So the old Maglean bottles and different blue tint water jugs that you get from your water company, they contain most likely the BPA in there. So if your water's sitting in there for any length of time, the BPA is basically going to leach out, or so they say, into that water, and then we're going to ingest that. And we probably don't want to ingest any more extra chemicals than we need to in our lives, because we're so already bombarded in our modern world with all these different chemicals. So next, let's talk about all the equipment on the table and the plastics that they contain. Number one thing I'd like to point out is that all the machines on the table, to my knowledge, use FDA approved plastic. So that's very important. These are major companies selling their juicers and equipment, and these are all approved plastics for use with food contact. The next thing I'd like to mention is just talk more about this fear of plastics in general. And one of the common sayings that I've heard is, as a kid, plastics make it possible. So if it weren't for plastics, you may not have a juicer, you may not have a blender. There would be a lot of things in your life that you probably wouldn't have or be able to do. So that being said, let's give you my opinion on plastics. So number one, plastics make it possible. So, if you buy bottled water, guess what? Your bottled water most all the time is in a plastic bottle. And the reason why I want to point this out is because when it's inside this plastic bottle, this water is sitting in this bottle for months, maybe years, depending on, how long it's been sitting there. And you don't know. Sometimes they have a born on date when they say, when it was produced. This was actually produced, several months ago. So this water has been sitting in this plastic bottle for a long time. And all during that time, it's been able to react with the plastic, and maybe the plastic leaches out if it does, or whatnot. And so there's more contact time with the item or the food or water that we're going to ingest with the plastic. So plastic and water bottles, if you're drinking water out of plastic bottles, you're going to get some of those plasticizers. Other thing a lot of people don't know, even in canned food, it contains BPA. What many people don't know is that inside the can, they spray the inside of the can with a BPA coating to basically preserve it so the can won't rust out, so it'll have a longer shelf life for you. So if you're eating canned foods or drinking bottled waters, in my opinion, you shouldn't be concerned about the scant amount of plastic and the short amount of contact time that's going to happen when you're juicing. Here's why. I mean, this can, I don't know when the born on date was on this, but it expires 2012, and this water expires in 2012 also. But you know, say this was produced in 2010. It's been sitting in there for 2 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the food to come into contact with those things in the plastic that we don't want, and then it gets absorbed in the food. Then we eat the food without even thinking about it. Now with the juicers here, you put a carrot or whatever you're juicing in there, it runs through the juicer, it's crushed out, and the juice comes out. I mean, all with under 15 seconds, 30 seconds max, depending on the juicer, of contact time. So, you know, 2 years of contact time, up to 2 years or more, when you're drinking, you know, bottled waters or even bottled sodas or, you know, canned foods versus 15 seconds. So let's put that into place. And the other thing I think is that the benefits of juicing far outweigh the minimal risk, in my opinion. Of course, would I like an all stainless steel juicer that didn't have any plastic? Of course I would. But you know what? There's also problems with certain metals as well, and that's a whole nother subject that you could discuss that I'm not going to discuss today. And I think, you know, plastics are probably worse overall than you know, metals. But we don't want too much metal exposure either. I mean, we all know about heavy metal exposure and how that's not really good. I mean, even if you buy your produce in plastic bags, so these are some organic heirloom carrots, they're put in a plastic bag and they're stored in the plastic bag in my fridge until I use them. So if you use plastic bags and are saying, John, what about the plastics in the juicers? I think it's a little bit ridiculous, because this plastic is now sitting in your carrot. The carrots are going to sit in your, you know, fridge for a couple days before you actually juice them. So there's more contact time with the plastic between your carrots than inside the juicer. But if you're one of those eco-friendly people that reuses their, you know, natural cloth bags and all that stuff, and you don't drink or eat any canned or bottled juices, well, you know what? Then you may be concerned, and if you're that kind of person, you might want to spend $2,500 on a Norwalk juicer that's basically all metal parts. Oh, except for the bags, the press bags, I believe they're made out of nylon. So nylon is just another kind of petroleum-based plastic. Next, let's talk about all the different equipment on the table and the exposure that you'll get with the plastics in the equipment. First, we're going to start on this side of the table. We have the Champion juicer. This thing's been made since the 50s and even earlier. Definitely a heavy-duty juicer. Now, this juicer has basically nylon parts. So all these parts are nylon, which is once again a type of plastic derived from petroleum. Can be a little bit stronger. But the interesting thing about this Champion juicer, if you look inside there, you can see it's lined. So the nylon is lined with the stainless steel. So you're going to have minimal contact plastic time, except when you put the produce in. Obviously, this is all plastic, but where the grinder spins around, and the grinder, once again, is a nylon with stainless steel teeth, there's going to be less contact time with plastic. So once again, I think the benefits of juicing fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and consuming more fresh fruits and vegetables far outweigh the minimal risk with, you know, minimal contact time with any plastics. But with a Champion juicer, you know, it's mostly stainless steel, and the plastic is lined with stainless steel. Next, let's talk about this style juicer. This is called the Omega Big Mouth juicer, or Omega BMJ 330. This is known as a centrifugal ejection style juicer. So as you put the produce in, of course, the sides of this chute is plastic. But once you put the produce into the machine, what happens is the produce hits this stainless steel blade, is shredded up, it passes through this stainless steel screen, and then all the juice, once again, is then flung out into a stainless steel body housing. So once again, you're getting minimal plastic contact time if you are concerned. That being said, be sure to watch my other videos that explain the different types of juicers. So one criteria for purchasing a juicer may be the amount of contact time with plastic. I mean, for me, that would be really low on my list. For me, some other priorities when purchasing a juicer is, you know, how much is it going to yield on leafy green vegetables, because juicing leafy green vegetables to me are one of the most important things to juice. And in general, the centrifugal ejection juicer, for example, doesn't juice leafy greens so effectively, meaning it doesn't get that high of a yield. The Champion will do a little bit better with leafy greens, But nonetheless, coming over to these style juicers, they may work a lot better. So next, let's talk about the next style juicer on the table. This is called the single auger style juicer. So these happen to be horizontal single auger style juicers. There are also vertical single auger style juicers, such as the Omega Vert 330 and the Omega Vert 350 HD and the Hurum juicer. This happens to be a Samson 9003 juicer, and this is an Omega 8006 Nutrition Center. So let's talk about how these machines work. First off, you put the produce in, it goes down, of course, the chute, once again, is plastic as with all the other juicers, and the produce goes down and hits an auger. Let's go ahead and take apart the juicer and show you the auger. So we can go ahead and take this apart. Basically what happens is there's this auger and the screen here. The produce goes in there, this auger spins, it basically chunks off a piece. The piece of produce is then pushed down and squeezed into a smaller and smaller area until the juice is only squeezed out. And this is a two-stage single auger juicer. The first, on the initial crush, the juice drops out the bottom here, and then the produce is worked along the auger until it's squeezed out, and the juice is squeezed out at the second stage, and the pulp comes out the front. So with this machine, the auger is plastic, and one of the common complaints is that the auger, as it's in this screen, and this screen is stainless steel here, it's mostly plastic with a stainless steel plate here where the crush happens, and then the screen, of course, is also stainless steel. One of the common complaints is that when this spins, if it wasn't manufactured correctly, like they're doing it too quickly and the screen has some burrs in it, what will happen is as this spins, plastic will be grated off or shaved off into your juice. Of course, now we don't want to be eating shaved plastic shavings in our juice. So is this valid and is this accurate? Well, this is my personal machine, and I do see some signs of small plastic scrapes on the auger. But that being said, I've had this juicer for many years. Hopefully the manufacturer having a good quality control to check in to make sure. I have heard some reports that people take their screen and then they take something like this. It's called a Dremel tool, or this is the Dremel imitation tool, with a little attachment, a grinding attachment. You could come in here and basically smooth out the burrs where there are so that you will not have this auger scrape. Now, using a Dremel tool or any other tool to modify your juicer will probably void your warranty. So I'm not recommending that you do that, number one. And if you do that, you are doing so at your own risk and you may be voiding your warranty. So I just want to make that clear. But that being said, if you do this, you'll probably avoid the auger scraping and the plastic shavings coming out. So if it is shaving plastic, where's it going to go? Because it's got to go somewhere. Either it's going to go through the screen and come into your juice, or it's going to come out with a pulp. I think it's more likely that the auger shavings are going to get trapped with the fiber and then come out with a pulp. And I mean, if you do eat a little bit of plastic in shavings, I think it's probably far worse, once again, to be drinking bottled water, because now the plasticizers are liquid in the water. Plastic shavings are probably just going to go right through us. I don't think we have any apparatus in our body to break down the plastic shavings to get the nutrition or lack of nutrition in them. So one of the ways that this can be avoided is if the manufacturer simply did one simple thing. And hope you guys are listening if you guys are the manufacturers. All you guys need to do is make this piece out of stainless steel. And for those of you guys that work in a factory and are engineers, if you guys have access to a CNC machine, you could basically make a model of this, of the plastic, and then have your CNC machine cut it. Now, if you guys work in a factory and have access to those machines, they are very expensive, and a block of stainless steel to make an auger like this would probably be fairly expensive also, and take a lot of time. So if the manufacturers did do this and make an auger out of stainless steel, man, it would probably easily add $100 to the cost. And if somebody out there with a CNC machine or has access to the machines to do this, I'd encourage you to go make the augers and sell them to the people that are especially concerned about the plastic, in the juicers, because you may have a market to sell these augers for, $100 or something. So that's the Omega 8006, the dual stage single auger juicer. Let's go ahead and talk about the Samson 9003 machine. And what Samson did was basically change their design so that basically the auger scrape doesn't happen. So let's check that out. We're going to go ahead and take off the end cap. Once again, they have a screen, and this is just a single stage screen. On the initial crush, no juice comes out. It just basically goes through this screen that's full of holes. But what they did on this model is at the initial crush point where it happens, they have a stainless steel insert. So in this way, you will never get any auger scrape, because where the auger is scraping, it's all stainless steel on stainless steel, and you may get metal shavings in your juice if that is to occur at all, which over time it may, but it's probably much less likely to happen, than the plastic on plastic with the Omega 8006. So I like the design of this, that they do have the stainless steel insert. One of the complaints that I've heard about this, and I see this in my personal unit, is where the plastic and the stainless steel meet, there is, like, I don't even know, a small, like, paper thin gap. And food particles can get stuck in there if you're not careful to, wash it and clean it very well after each use. So I don't like that. Once again, manufacturers need to make a stainless steel gear, and if somebody came out with one of those, I'm sure, and the price wasn't too much more, all the super health conscious people that are concerned about this would then be able to buy that machine, and maybe other people would also buy that machine. So if you guys are manufacturers out there listening to my video, make the Auger 100% stainless steel, please. Even make the screen 100% stainless steel. That'd be awesome. I'd love it. And I'd promote that juicer a lot, as long as it also performed well. So I'm here to show you about all the different machines, show you how they perform. Be sure to check all my other videos. This video was dealing specifically with plastic. But before we go, I want to talk about this last machine here. This is a Vitamix blender, and the main thing about the Vitamix blender, and even more so than with the juicers, you got to remember the plastic contact time. So between 15 and 30 seconds of contact time from the time you put the produce in and the time you come out. In some juicers, it may be as less as 5 seconds on a centrifugal ejection juicers that are running really fast. So very minimal contact time. But the place that you guys should all be concerned about is with your blender. Because with your blender, you're putting something in there and then you're blending it for a while, and a lot of people are lazy when they're done blending, and they'll actually store the blender carafe in the fridge with their, stuff they blended in there, whether it's their smoothie or whatever. So I think it's a much bigger deal to make sure that your blender does not contain BPA or bisphenol A, because most blender carafes have and do contain BPA. So you can see this is the brand new blender carafe that's been out, I don't know, at least for a year now, from Vitamix. And this is the BPA-free blender carafe, so it contains no BPA. It has basically using an Eastman Triton polymer that doesn't contain BPA, but still has a strength durability of the standard polycarbonate carafe, plus a few added benefits. The first benefit to the new carafe style, and if you could know if you have the new carafe style if you have the new top. The new top basically has these hinges that come off to the side. You just pull them up, and you pull them up so you can see the top with the pieces on the side, the flaps that come down. That'd be the first sign. So if you have the new top, you probably have the new BPA-free carafe. The other way you could tell is you could tap on it. So listen very carefully. It's kind of a deep resonating tap. And that's the reason for that is that this polymer basically dampens the sound a lot more. So this is the old style carafe that contains the BPA. Once again, this top does not have the tabs to show you guys that, tabs and no tabs. If you have the one with the no tabs, then you probably have the old style carafe that does contain the BPA. And you can tell this style, the handles look identical, it's the same mold, but the way you can tell this is also, besides the top, is tap on it. So you hear when I tap on it, it's a much higher pitched sound. It doesn't dampen the sound quite as much, and it contains the BPA. So if you do have one of these blender crafts, what do you do? Because if you want to buy a new blender craft, it's over $100 from Vitamix. So at discountjuicers.com, we sell the BPA-free carafe upgrade kit, and what that comes with is basically comes with the new top with the latch lids that secures easily and easier to take off. Actually, also comes with a brand new blender carafe, and it comes with a blade wrench. So it comes with no blade and bearing or nut assembly. You're going to use that off your old current blender. You'll be able to just basically take off this whole bottom assembly, put it in the new carafe, and then you'll have a BPA-free carafe. It'll look new, dampen the sound more, and will not contain BPA. And I think that is much more important of an upgrade to do than to be concerned about the minimal contact time with the produce going through the juicer, because in the blender, once again, it's sitting for a longer contact time. So next we're going to talk about how to reduce some of the plastic contact in your life and specifically in your kitchen. Number one, in my kitchen, I went through my kitchen and basically got rid of all the Tupperware and all the plastic storage containers that I have. So instead, I purchased glass storage containers. Some of them do have plastic lids, but for the most part, the food never touches the lid. They also have these glass lock containers that are kind of cool, that are portable, so you can store things in them. I get basically their big Pyrex containers with plastic lids, so my food does not have to touch plastic when it's being stored. Probably one of the most important things to do if you are concerned with plastics is to stop cooking in plastic. So if you do use a microwave, don't heat anything up that's in plastic. I mean, that's absolutely the worst thing you could do is get plastic and then heat it up, because when plastic is heated, then more of the toxins or the bad things in plastics can come out, or so they say. And once again, with the juicers, these are at low speeds, and there's not really any significant amount of heat generated to be concerned about. The other thing is to stop drinking bottled water out of plastics. If you want to get plastics out of your life, you can get a stainless steel water bottle, or even better yet, reuse a glass bottle to refill with water and take that around and drink out of glass. So hopefully this video was helpful to you to reduce some of the plastics in your life, and share my opinions about the plastics in the juicers and other kitchen equipment. Basically, overall, to sum it up, I believe that the plastic exposure and the minimal contact time the plastic comes in contact with the produce while it's being juiced is a very small risk in comparison to the dramatic health benefits that fresh fruit and vegetable juices can provide for you. So once again, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.